Similar to marketing in ways, you have to be discoverable. You can have the best product in the world, but if people can't find you, hear about you, see others' trusted sources vouch for you, you're not going to be as effective. What we do with public relations is letting the public know why it's valuable and why they should come to you. So it's all about the audience, right? So your message is never going to land if you don't have something catered to that audience. Are you using social media? It's really that mix of public relations and marketing that I think is very essential.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another great episode of Multifamily Forward, presented by Mark Taylor Residential. I'm Adam Greco, and the gorgeous man sitting next to me, Mr. John Carlson, president of Mark Taylor. How are you, sir?
Thank you. I'll take it. I'm great. Thank you.
So we have talked many times in the past, going back to season 1, about our producer and director extraordinaire, Miss Allison Sallitt. She is going to come and be our special guest today.
I mean, she brings her A game on that side of the equation, but now the lights are on.
We're going to see how
rolling.
she
Let's see how she does.
We'll see how she holds under pressure. But today's topic, which is right up Allie, and Allison, we call her Allie, just as a reminder. We're going to have an episode about amplifying the impact with strategic communication and PR. But before we bring Allie in, wanted to get your take on why is strong communication and PR valuable for Mark Taylor?
Well, I can go back historically. I've been here a long time and think back to when we didn't have a communications platform.
Yeah.
So we were drafting countless emails, revisions, trying to really create a narrative with each, I'll say, inflection point of something that happened, whether it was crisis or just a mandate, company-wide, what have you. So fast forward to today through Allison's leadership, I'm happy, to convey that I feel like we are, I'll say, a big boy corporation in terms of that.
Yeah.
From a, just if you think about what does comms and PR mean, I think comms really internally means you're communicating in a very transparent, effective manner. Being transparent is one of our principles, of course. And I think having our employee base understand exactly what's happening, being thorough, detailed, and timely matters so that no one's confused in creating their own narrative. So that's very important internally. I think externally, I think of, more along the lines of PR. So really ensuring that your company's brand, your value system, all of that is integrated with your communications externally,
right?
So that you're conveying to the public, whether it's press, it's media, TV, what have you, that there's a clear understanding of what Mark Taylor is or your organization. So I think we've done a nice job of really entwining our principles, our value systems, our mission, all of those things into those type of releases.
No doubt.
And it certainly creates the right narrative for what we're trying to accomplish as an organization.
You are an expert in your own right, but how about, without further ado, we bring in the true expert.
Please, I'm just going to stop talking.
Miss Allison Sallitt. She's here on the proper side of the desk this time. Allie, it's a pleasure. How are you?
I'm great. Thanks for having me on our podcast. I'm happy to be here.
We have to ask because you are also in charge of wardrobe. Was this a mistake?
Was not planned.
I'm teasing, of course.
I'm
but we do
convinced
look
that John saw my outfit and wanted to take after me.
Yes.
I went home and changed quickly. Yeah.
Allie, thank you again. We want the audience to get to know you, of course. You prepared these questions. I'm just going to say that to our audience. So in just the essence of wanting to have a little bit of fun, we're not going to ask those questions.
Oh, no.
So first, I'm going to give you a break on the first one. So you moved here about 3 years ago from the land of crab cakes, also known as Maryland.
Yes.
Congratulations to your Baltimore Ravens, by the way.
Yes. I'm really torn about whether I want Taylor Swift to win or the Ravens to win. So
wow.
We'll see.
There it is. It finally came out.
Taylor's not playing.
She's part of the show. She's definitely part of the show. So you moved here to Arizona. Can you name the 5 C's of Arizona?
I
did throw you for a curveball. Are you really going to answer this?
Yeah.
Oh, I wanted to stump you.
So
this
I
wasn't
think
listed,
it's
yeah.
Cattle, cotton, oh no.
Think mineral.
National cotton. Climate. I have 3 and a 5. Copper. And citrus. I think I did more than half.
There's actually 6 now.
Now the
chips.
Yes. Yes, I love it. When you moved here, recently, actually in season 1, we mentioned that you just got engaged as well.
I did, yeah.
Peter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we moved here together, packed up all our stuff, came across the country in one car. Really, everything we owned was in there, and we sold everything else.
I love that.
So it was a huge adventure, a lot of fun, and we were taking a big risk by coming out here. But we really found our home here and in our work and in the people that we know here. So we love it.
What do you like most about Arizona?
I would have to say the sunshine. I am a big outdoorsy person. So I love to, bike, on walks, do hiking, everything like that. So it's always sunny here, except for weirdly this week. And I love that about it.
You have a little bit of a competitive side to you as well, because I've been bowling with you. Yeah, so I just stood out of the way, just saying that out loud, because she's a force to be reckoned with. But thank you again for joining us. And again, we're talking everything comms and PR. So let's dive right in. You ready for it?
Absolutely.
So first question is, how do you define strategic communication, and what are the most important elements of it?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's important to talk about like how we define it, just because, people look at it different ways. But, by definition, it's really the sort of systematic and specialized approach to planning and executing information flow. So if there's one thing you think about, it's the flow of information. Do people have what they need and when they need it? And, do they know why they need it? So really that is kind of the name of the game. And there's a few important elements that I just try and keep in mind anytime, I'm directing my team or thinking about communications that I'm writing, or just trying to give someone, a client or an internal client, the advice on how to communicate. So I'll give you 5 things to remember.
Please.
Number 1 would be, be strategic. So what that means is it connects to your organization's goals or the goals of what you're trying to get across. So, if you're communicating something, you want to include, even if it's a sentence, about the why we're doing this. Is it for our people? Is it for, to be excellent? Different things like that connect to our organization strategies or the clients. So I would also say clear. So clarity, that sounds so simple, but if you get too wordy, if you over-explain something, people have a short attention span. So it has to be clear in order to be effective, because if it's not effective, if people aren't doing the action that you're asking them to do, nothing's working.
Right.
So I'd also say it has to be proactive. So something big that we've worked on here at Mark Taylor for the past 3 years is making sure that our managers and our leaders have the information they need, before all of our team members. So I'll explain why, if you just imagine it in a situation where that's not the case. So, all team members, have some new change that is rolled out at the same time. They turn to their trusted leader and say, how do I do this? Why are we doing this, et cetera? And they don't know. And then it creates, the manager's not able to feel empowered to help their team member through something so that they're clear and that they have that leadership and assistance. And then, the trust in the organization and things like that start to wane. So the way to create trust is to proactively make sure your leaders are informed, and so that they're able to effectively lead their teams. So I got 3 of them. I'll also say consistent is really important. So in the absence of communication comes, confusion or just uncertainty. So we want to make sure we have those consistent pillars of communication. Again, simple, but super important. And the last thing I'll say, number 5, would be two-way communication. So this is really important, especially when you think about internal communication. So, John, of course, has messages to tell our company as the president, but, he wants to hear what they're saying back, as he should. So we need the feedback through, whether it be surveys, whether it be, open-ended questions in meetings. We need to keep the door open so that we're truly serving the people. And I think that counts for things externally as well. If something's not working, you need to hear it, you need to change. Or if something is working and, you're getting good feedback, you want to continue with it. So
I love it.
I'd say those 5 are important to me.
John, I mean, she just, of course, always very efficient, very right to the point with her answers. Out of those elements, Any of those stand out to you?
I think clarity and consistency. So we'll stick with the C theme. I think from a clarity perspective, if there's a clear understanding from the audience that's receiving that message, whether it's through email or it's a phone call, a conference call, what have you, a Zoom call, that there's clarity. It provides an environment that I'll say deters all of this, what if type question scenarios. And it also, as she mentioned, it empowers them. So let's just use our manager band and service managers. If there's clarity around what the communication is, like what are they supposed to do? Okay. Are they empowered? And then it's consistent. So knowing that, okay, every time I kind of understand what I'm receiving, I know what to expect. And there's a bit of the why, right? Why are we doing this? And if all those things are in place, it allows the organization to move forward. And usually these are initiatives, right? So there's something new that's putting pressure on the environment or the org. So if it's done with clarity and it's consistent in terms of how it's delivered, I feel like the organization's able to, from almost an algorithm perspective, move forward efficiently. If it's clunky, if it's not consistent, it's not precise or clear, then the issues persist, and it really puts a significant amount of stress on the organization. So now you're kind of backpedaling, and you're not fluidly moving through whatever initiative that is. So if you had a goal of 2 weeks, now maybe it's 3 or 4, and everything's not actually being produced or delivered in sync. So I think she nailed it on all 5 for
100%,
sure.
100%. I have the privilege of being able to listen into you when you are speaking with the comms team, all the family members that we have here at Mark Taylor. I've heard you say the 2 important strategic communications, internal and external. How do they relate to our industry?
Absolutely. So we alluded to it a little bit previously, but just for clarity, I refer to internal communications as all of our team members. So we have about 800 employees at Mark Taylor. So any company has internal communications. If they have that structure in place. And what it is just getting your team members the information they need, helping them be engaged and stay connected so that everything keeps working appropriately. It's especially important in a distributed workforce. So if you think about multifamily, this is where it's really crucial. And I noticed when I came in about 3 years ago that, there's not a lot out there when it comes to multifamily communications. There's a lot on internal communications, but it's a really big topic that I think that more people should dig into and speak on, because you have employees, across, Mark Taylor today has about 105 communities that we manage, whether, it's for third-party clients or for our own developments. So that's a lot of different locations that people are at where, they're not able to walk down into John's office and say, hey, why are we doing this? Or, do I have am I doing what I need to be doing? So you need to make sure that everyone across the organization has access to the information and can reach that and feels like they're part of the same family. That's really important just for information and for engagement. So I think that relates really heavily to the multifamily industry. And I think there are a lot of solutions that need to start, coming into place for multifamily. I think we've started a lot here that I'm very proud of. And then when it comes to external communications, I consider this in a lot of different ways for multifamily. So we have residents, we have 35,000 plus residents that are technically outside of the company, but, we kind of hold closer, and we want to make sure they also have the communication that they need. So, and, all sorts of things can happen, at a community. We want to make sure that they have quick responses. If there's ever need for support, that we're there and that we can manage any crisis or anything that we is out there. And then also we have our clients, we have our vendors. We want to make sure that they have the communication they need. And then, what's traditionally considered as public relations is those communications to the general public. So it's, the press releases and, letting people know about, new initiatives that we're doing. It's all extremely important, especially when you think about, John alluded to creating your own narrative. I think that's a really important thing to have out in your public relations, because when you don't create your own narrative, it's created for you. And you want it to authentically represent you and what your organization is doing and all the great things that it's bringing to us. So Mark Taylor, for example, we want people to know, that we're providing these amazing homes for people to live, in an area that is booming, and that, people are, coming for new jobs, moving across the country like me. They want to have nice housing that they can depend on. And so I think us putting that out there and kind of beating some of the, kind of old-fashioned, bad landlord stuff is really important for us.
That's great. And perfect segue too, because as Allie was mentioning, public relations, how important for you, from your viewpoint, is creating an external narrative for the industry through public relations?
Well, I can go back again prior to having Allie and the full comms team. I'd think about, what we would do on a day-to-day basis with, as she mentioned, 35,000 residents and how we would take care of them. And I think, we do a lot of great things as a long-term developer, manager, and consultant, but the reality is we weren't communicating that out externally. We weren't sharing our story. Here's what we're doing for our residents. Here's what we're doing for our employees. So I think, the narrative specifically was us just not creating one. So it was, I'll say from a long-term perspective, we do have a brand, luxury living type brand in Arizona and Nevada and really nationally, but we weren't doing a great job of delivering the message. Like, here's what Mark Taylor is. Here's what you can expect from us. This is what we deliver. This is what we focus on. So all of those things were a bit, I'll say, opaque when you left the walls of Mark Taylor. So that's a big piece of what we do today. And I think it's more about just communicating what we do. And I think we do a fantastic job of it today. And of course, we're always looking to be better than yesterday. So it's something that is evolving consistently and constantly. But I'm excited about what we're trying to achieve today. And 2024 is a big year for us.
It's going to continue to be a big year. Every subsequent year after that. Allie, let's stick with public relations. Tell us about our program, Inspire, within Mark Taylor.
Absolutely. So this is one I'm really excited about and is headed up by our HR and employee engagement team. But it really relates to public relations because what it is corporate social responsibility. So it's, getting our team members as well as partners a way to make an impact on the community and genuinely help those around them. Now, that relates to public relations because, it shows who we authentically are, and it shows people who, might have misconceptions about apartments and development that we're here to make the community better. So if we're going into a new area, we're opening up a new apartment, we're also helping out the local school or the food bank or things like that. And it helps, show the community that we, are genuinely here not only to provide them great homes, but to just have a great impact on everyone else. So it's really genuinely all around about making a positive impact and sharing that and showing people, changing the narrative just about development and apartments in general.
I've been keeping this in my back pocket for something that actually happened to me this morning, in fact, right? We're talking about public relations, our brand. I had to drop off my truck for a recall issue at the dealership, and I'm waiting in line, and the service advisor comes up, and as we're running through everything, she asked me, "So who do you work for? Because you're dressed very nice." I said, "Oh, I work for Mark Taylor Residential." Right out the gate, she goes, "Oh my gosh, I was donating my time to St. Mary's Food Bank, and I saw so many of your team members in the blue T-shirts helping out and just giving back to the community." So I've been waiting to actually share this with you because I just thought it was the coolest thing ever. Yeah. It was the coolest thing ever.
And you can see that trickle down effect.
That was so great.
Even in those interactions.
A huge smile on my face.
I would just, that's a fantastic, that's the moment, right? Okay,
yeah,
we're impacting.
That was so perfect.
The folks in the community, but also internally, she mentioned, or you just described, the blue shirts. So it's truly an opportunity for us as a Mark Taylor community, as a people to go out and say, okay, we're going to lock arms and, 100 of us at one time and make an impact. And I think that's the advantage of having 800 plus employees saying, okay, we're going to go do this. And really, if it's just you doing it, great. You're making an impact, you're chipping away. But if we can do 100 people, 200 people at one time, it's so influential and it just moves the needle for the community. And we are part of the fabric. Obviously, we're creating exceptional communities that invite, inspire, and feel like home. But what else can we do? Yeah. And so that's great that
I was waiting to share this with you. I knew it was going to be great.
So great to hear.
Let's stay with public relations. Why should our clients, our valued clients, why should they be so involved or concerned or just value how we handle public relations?
Yeah, absolutely. So, similar to marketing in ways, you have to be discoverable. You can have the best product in the world, but if people can't find you, hear about you, see others' trusted sources vouch for you, you're not going to be as effective. So, when it comes to our multifamily clients, it's a part of it that I really encourage to just, take really seriously and realize the impact of it. And I think people truly do now. But, if you are, have the Phoenix Business Journal writing about your new community and how it's a differentiator, that's going to open a lot more doors for you. Or, based on your demographic, whichever outlets that you're looking to do, you really just need to spread the word about it instead of, waiting for people to come to you. There will be that. But I think what we do with public relations is letting the public know why it's valuable and why they should come to you. So our team works with Lavage as well, a great partner, but we do, all the writing in-house where, we're writing press releases, we're writing different talking points and things like that to help arm you to have the tools to portray your property or, whatever it is in the right light, so that you get the proper recognition, that you draw the proper audience that you want to.
Yep. That's
another really important part of it that I do want to touch on, the audience. It's all about the audience, right? So your message is never going to land if you don't have something catered to that audience. So, for example, if your apartment community is you want to fill with Gen Z, that's the demographic you're looking for. You really have to cater that message. You have to make your public relation strategy inclusive of all those different factors that will draw them in. What are the sources that they're reading? Are you using social media? It's really that mix of public relations and marketing that I think is very essential.
And I would just add, so from just an overall communication perspective,
yep,
we used to be very reactive, although we're very proactive in terms of how we operate our assets from an ownership and third-party perspective. So that's shifted and we're as prepared as ever. And I think that translates into the environment where there is reactive type situations. All I mean by that is if you have a community, as an example, that has a main water break. So no one has water, it's 2 a.m., what happens? What triggers the communication from that standpoint? And we have a very buttoned up crisis management process for that reason, because if you have that in place, you're already in crisis, right? So there's a stress.
Yes.
Amongst manager, community, residents, us as a corporate level, Lavage included. So if there's a protocol in place that's well planned out and specific with what each person has to do to ensure that there's success on the other end, meaning the audience. So if I'm Susie, I have to get ready at 4 for work, but I have no water. I have to know exactly what's happening. So yeah. I think we do a great job of that today. It's not perfect, of course, but it creates that transparency immediately and starts to create, I'll say, credibility and trust. So it builds that momentum each time that happens. Hopefully it only happens once in a blue moon, of course, but if it happens, you have to be ready. So I think today we are as ready as ever. And I think that translates to any sector or any crisis across any business.
So when I first walked through the doors and joined the family a couple of years ago, watching and just receiving all the communications just internally and also reading everything externally, constantly just improving. How do you see future trends happening in comms and PR?
Absolutely. So this is something that's always evolving, much like, our operations and things like that. But the number one thing that I think I can share about communications that is where I think the future is headed is mobile. I think it's really important to meet people where they are. So it's definitely in the works for us. And I think that it's something that, I've talked to other, communications professionals and that's where everyone's going. So it's really, everyone's on their phones. So how do you make it so that it is convenient and clear? And it's accessible as well. And if you think about, our service team members, our efforts to try and meet them mobily, it will be happening soon because they're on their phones. They're, they're in the units, they're using technology on their phones for maintenance turns. So I think you're kind of seeing everyone shift to those and, even, former colleagues of mine that have, companies that are triple the size, they're all trying to figure that out as well. So that's definitely what's happening. I'll also say, for internal, external, everything is becoming more visual. So if, our creative team is wonderful in, capturing a lot of these concepts in video, as
Sure.
well as, graphic designers, and really just making it so much easier to understand and more concise as well. So that's not going away by any means. Shout out to Brian behind the
I
camera.
was just going to say, let's talk about our drone
Yeah.
work too. The man, the myth, and the legend behind camera there.
Exactly. Creatives like him make it possible to show things like we're literally doing right now, that we want people to hear the things that, Mark Taylor's saying, and we're able to capture it via video. The other thing I'll say is that being concise is more important than ever. I'm a big supporter of this in everything, but especially in digital communications. No matter what the audience, everyone is absolutely bombarded with content all
Yeah.
day, every day.
Yes.
Some of it we do it to ourselves, it's social media, things like that. But even if you're not on social media, there's so much noise today, and we really have to figure out how to cut through the noise. And, we can't do that with long form writing anymore. I think there's a time and a place for that still. I'm a big reader, but I think that when it comes to social media, emails, anything like that, it's got to be concise. And that is something that's not going away because our attention spans are just getting smaller.
I can't agree more. John, anything to add in closing?
I mean, Allie covers most of it. I just say that, it's a couple things. So we're trying to meet our prospect and or our resident or even our service technician in a way that meets their expectation. So I'll use a resident as an example. Some residents want to call, some want to text, some would rather just go through the variety of how they can access today is significant. So we have to meet them with an expectation. Okay, we can cover all of these things and do them all really well. I would think also last piece would be, as you alluded to, signal versus noise. There's a lot of noise. There's a lot of content. So how do we focus in on the signal,
overwhelming,
right?
yeah.
And make sure that we are clear and concise. So I write emails as short as ever. I don't know what the word maximum is. I just try to keep it to one paragraph. But just being very specific with what your intentions are and moving forward, because otherwise it just gets lost and then they're calling you with a question. So again, you're eliminating the efficiencies and potential output.
Awesome. I love it. Allie, you're no stranger to our tradition of how we close out our episodes, stating what we're most grateful for. And I'm going to hit you up first before I go to John. What are you most grateful for, Allie?
I would say today I'm grateful for a lot of things, but today I'm very grateful for you two, not to, be a suck up, but I
Nice.
think that you guys hear out all of the different ideas that I have. And when I say I want to break this or I want to build this or I want to do different things, you're game for it. I really appreciate the level of trust that you place in me to do different things. And I'm just grateful.
John?
Hard to narrow it down today. I think if I look back, which I often do, and I think about my favorite principle being better than yesterday, one of our 5, I think about our dynamic communication and PR platform today versus what it was, which really wasn't anything even 4 years ago. So the advancement of where we are today and where we're going just in this specific space of the business makes me feel excited about the potential of what's to come. Right down to this podcast. I love doing this. I put a lot of undue pressure on myself thinking, I'm really going to have to think a lot about how to create a great podcast. But I realized quickly it's conversational. It's bringing on experts and ensuring that there's quality, which Brian and you, when you're in the director's chair, you make that happen. So I'm excited about everything that's ahead with this communications and Mark Taylor.
I love it. I'm gonna close with this as well on as far as what I'm grateful for, because you mentioned all of us working together, all the different ideas. We're all sitting there. We're all listening. We're all open to it. It still amazes me on a day-to-day basis how quickly we execute on something once we decide what we want to do. That was always a struggle for me in my professional career because I was always second-guessing myself. Working around everyone inside the office, with our clientele, our supporting vendor partners, it's just, we're all driven towards the same thing, and it's always trying to be better than we were yesterday. And my favorite one, as you were mentioning our guiding principles, is just being transparent. That's one thing that I never have to hold back on sharing a feeling, a thought. I
We
don't
know.
like this. Yeah. Well, yes. Thank you. Yeah. I appreciate that. So just wanted to say thank you. I just love working alongside you. And one last thing, Peter, you are a very lucky man. She is an amazing woman. She works hard day in, day out. Well, as you know, because you're sitting next to her, she's sending the emails out on a Sunday.
He's the one making me dinner while I'm
Yeah, exactly.
on late at night.
But Allie, thank you again. John, always a pleasure.
Great to be here.
Let's just keep moving forward and doing what we do well. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Another great episode, Multifamily Forward, presented by Mark Taylor Residential.